Not a good time for Erik ten Hag right now. This the result. United have lost consecutive Premier League matches without scoring at Old Trafford for the first time since November of 2021. Back then it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge, and they were his last two home games in charge of Manchester United. You can't even see them in the top half of the table right now. Spurs are there in 8th as it stands right now, but that result leaves United in the bottom half of the table, and of course begs a lot more questions of what Erik ten Hag is building with this side. So let's hear what he had to say after the game.
What I saw in the first 30 minutes, that is below the level what we can expect from a Man United team. And even when you concede so early on in a game a goal, you should stay calm and control the game, control your performance, and just sticking together and stick to the plan, and then you will have a footnote in the game. And now we didn't got this, although we had our, as I said, we had our chances as well.
Do you think it was more psychological than tactical because of the early goal that Spurs scored?
I definitely. I saw this, that the players got very stressful after they conceded so quick a goal, and they made very bad decisions on the ball where we had some options to play over, and we should have done better this.
Julien Laurens joining us now, but let me start with you, Craig, because this was an awful...
What game was that from, that interview? was that today, a couple of weeks ago?
That was today.
Was it the Palace game? Was it the 20 game? Was it last season?
All the games of the last six months.
Look, before we get to the actual football match, what are Man United waiting for? What are they waiting for? The international break? An embarrassment in Porto? An embarrassment against Villa? What are they waiting for? We had this discussion last year. We said when they were embarrassed in the semi-final by Coventry and should have gone out, that this job now is too big for them. We said after they won the cup final, when people were getting carried away, said, can't sack old Erik now, he's won the cup final. We said, we'll be having this discussion about his job, about his team, within 3 months of the season starting. And here we are. Here we are. That was an appalling performance again, even before the idiotic Bruno Fernandes challenge, right? Appalling. Tottenham and by the way, we all called it. We all called it. Said Tottenham are going to go and outplay them. It's going to come down to whether Tottenham can be clinical in the final third. And if Timo Werner somehow had his shooting boots, his composure, it would have been 5 or 6. But listen, this job, he has lost his way so much in this job, it is frightening. What are Ineos and all those people behind the scenes doing here? They hit the iceberg last year, right? They hit the iceberg, it was there for them, smashed into it, sinking. What they did was, they hit the reverse, they went back to hit it again just to see if it was as bad as they thought, and it is. In fact, it's worse. How can he survive? They are a dreadful, dreadful football team, and they have spent millions to be bad.
Jules, imagine if Son had played today. For Manchester United, is this their rock bottom, or can it actually get worse?
I think with them it can always get worse. I agree with Craig. I think they can go to Porto and lose on Thursday night, and then they can go to Villa on Sunday and lose again, and that's then the crisis will depend even more. And I mean, today was an embarrassment. Again, it's not the first time that we say it. Again, we repeat the same things over and over. We've done so for a month now. There's just no progression. They don't improve. There's nothing. There's no plan. There's no tactics. There's no structure. There's no ideas. There's no personality, no leadership, nothing. It's not all his fault because eventually the players are on the pitch. But coming from him, there's just nothing. He's not good enough. He hasn't been good enough. Even that first season, he won some games because his team had more individual talent than a lot of teams in the Premier League. But there's a point where it shows, and he exposed your limits as a coach, because when you see even Maresca at Chelsea with 1 million players, a lot of youth and a lot of injuries as well. Look at what he's doing compared to Erik ten Hag in his third season. He spent £600 million in his third season. This is what we see. This is what he gives the Old Trafford fans. And we saw all the big bosses were there today. Dave Restford, Dan Ashworth, everybody. They were as embarrassed as we were watching this game. It was really, really pathetic.
Shaka, those big bosses weren't convinced in the summer that somebody could do a better job than Erik ten Hag. How do they feel now?
They have to be convinced that nobody can do a worse job than Erik ten Hag at this point, in all honesty. Erik ten Hag is rewriting all the wrong records at Old Trafford. And that speaks volumes to, I think, how far Manchester United have fallen and how big the job is yet to come. And while Ten Hag, and for all his failings, just continue to blame injuries, and I'm going to guess the big bosses kind of fell for that. This was as strong a Manchester United team as he could put out. Maybe you have Højlund and Xerxes, but other than that, this was Manchester United's best 11, bar none, given all of Erik ten Hag's spending. And had Heung-min Son been in for Werner, they'd be 3-0 down in 40 minutes before Bruno Fernandes even gets himself sent off. So while I am sure over the next couple of days you will hear more and more about the Bruno Fernandes sending off and how that changed the game and how Manchester United were about to turn a corner and win this one, this game should have been well and truly over at that point. And in the end, the sending off just provided yet another excuse for Erik ten Hag for what is a desperately poor team. I'm with everybody here. I didn't think they should have kept him after the FA Cup final. I think even less so now. And the question is just, where exactly is that rock bottom?
And to illustrate the point that other guys are making, if we get to the actual game, just analyzing this game, for the first 30 minutes, you would have thought that Spurs were playing with 18 players out on the field. It felt like Manchester United were short everywhere. That for every challenge that 2 and 3 Spurs players were about to make, there wasn't any Manchester United player. And if you don't believe me, just watch the Mickey van de Ven run. This is at the beginning of the game, by the way, in which you're at home. You're supposed to have intensity and character and urgency and the fight and the fans and Old Trafford. This guy grabs the ball 65, 70 yards away from his front goal, runs through the whole field, through the middle of the field, and everybody from Manchester United that was alongside him at one point were kind of like, yeah, we're not going to catch him. I'm not going to get on the way. There he goes, and there he goes. And then the league is like, I'm going to catch him. No, you're not. And it's embarrassing to see a team that doesn't even know their responsibility to tackle a guy with the ball. And if I were to say that this is the first time that something like this happens, I would be incorrect. Because it actually happens regularly for Manchester United. And we'll blame the players. Of course, they carry a lot of the responsibility. But the messaging coming from the manager is one that now has lost any sort of credibility. To us, a long time ago, but to the players as well. And when you have that combination, you see performance like you saw today in the first 30 minutes in which there was one team on the field, and it wasn't Manchester United.
Under his tenure, let's look at the team and the squad. Under his tenure, and if I miss anybody, correct me. Anana's come in under his tenure. Mazraoui, De Ligt, Martinez, three of the back four. Dalot's a very good player, Portuguese international. Ugarte's come in under his tenure. Casemiro's come in under his tenure. Xerxes come under his tenure. Anthony, he pushed for Anthony. Oh my God, horrendous, 100 million down the drain. Mason Mount's come in under his tenure. Another one they pushed for, hasn't happened for him. It's his team. It's his team. 3 years. 3 years. Look at his opponent in the other dugout. Yeah, they've made a few changes to the squad. But boys, he made some changes to the way Tottenham play over the last 15 months. It is chalk and cheese what Postecoglou has done. They might not be successful, but it is evident what they work on. There is no evidence, and never has been. Apart from the odd cup final, when they scupper along and beat Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, and somehow beat Man City, who were out on their feet in the cup final. Everything else pretty much in between a couple of Liverpool games, everything else has just got mediocrity written all over. And you know what the United fans do? Most of them, a few boos, they put their head in their hands and they traipse off to their house and go, Erik will get it right eventually. That's where they've fallen to. They're almost accepting this garbage. And that's what it is.
And to that point, Erik ten Hag is walking onto the field, into the stadium, and out of the stadium.
Applauding.
What are we applauding? I mean, I would be embarrassed. I would be embarrassed. I would be head down, man, and let's go back to work because it's all that we can do. But you're applauding to who? What are you expecting an applaud from? And who are you giving an applause to? It doesn't make any sort of sense.
They've always thought, let's be honest, they don't trust the money man, Erik ten Hag, right? They don't, right? He's a sitting duck. That's been, unless you're a cheerleader and you can't see it, he's a sitting duck, right? But they've been bringing players in to suit him. And yet he's not going to be there in the long term. He's not. It's not going to happen. He's not going to turn it around. They're hopeless. He's absolutely gone, right? And yet they have continued to have a transfer strategy that works around the manager. What kind of strategy is that? To bring players in that a manager kind of wants. Like, you're not telling me another manager wants Man United wants Zirkzee. I'm not having it. Not having it. Maybe even Matthijs de Ligt. His connection from Holland with him. But you look at de Ligt today again, I mean, he's struggling. He's struggling. These are players that are coming in under this manager because he wants them. And yet, mark my words, they're going to sack him. So then what's going to happen? They're going to have to go round in that circle again. It is bonkers. They should have done it in the summer and said, Dunsville, out, not good enough.